Tablighi Jamaat, a house divided. Part 8, divided leadership. So in this section, I would like to go through an article that quite succinctly summarizes a lot of Professor Pieri's research. I refer specifically to the Newham Mosque project, or the Mega Mosque project, that currently is viewed as a failure and currently is a building site, basically. But in addition to that aspect of the article, it also covers a modern fracture within the TJ. And this fracture, this division, has led to deaths, injuries, and extreme levels of violence, with hundreds, if not thousands, of people being affected, including on the streets of Britain. Before I go through that article, I'd like to go through another academic's observation, and the observation was made by an academic called Dr. Muhammad Qasim Zaman, and the work is called The Ulama in Contemporary Islam, Custodians of Change. It was printed by Princeton University Press in 2002. So within this article, on page 185, we have a contemporary scholar in the South Asian area. So if there is some affinity between Wahid ad-Din Khan, this is the scholar that Muhammad Qasim Zaman is speaking about, this scholar called Khan, if there is some affinity between Khan and the TJ on the crucial issues of proselytism, there is much that also sets them apart. So then he goes on to say how Khan praises the Jamaat al-Tabligh, but then at the same time he realizes that there is a need to work in different arenas, and he describes that need as being acute. Implicit here is his criticism of the TJ for its lack of intellectual engagement with the challenges facing Muslims. As he notes with some derision, the entire movement of the TJ is being run on the basis of a single work, Muhammad Zacharias Faza'il-i A'mal. For Khan, on the other hand, a sustained effort to come to grips with and respond to modern intellectual challenges is precisely what Muslims need most, and he finds no recognition of this in the TJ. So that's really quite critical by the scholar Khan, who people would ordinarily think is a TJ because of his praise of them. They are clearly like cults based upon one single source, and they have a rigid, strict adherence to that source. And as will happen in future series, I will show you exactly how problematic that source for Za'il A'mal actually is. But in this case, according to this modern academic, Qasim Zaman, it shows how modern scholars in the subcontinent mock, uses the word derision, they mock the TJ for holding on so rigidly to this book because it's clearly holding them back. With that as a introduction, I now go on to the article directly. It states, and this is by a website called countercurrents.org, it's written by a person called Abdur Ghazali, and it's called Global Leadership Split in Tablighi Jamaat Echoes in San Francisco Bay Area. So this split and this violence is not limited to the three main headquarters of Nizamuddin, Tongi, and Raywand. It's spilt over into America and into the UK. So he mentions in his article, the split has three main factions. The first being in Bangladesh, in Tongi, where there are numbers of around 2 million. The second is in India, which is the traditional headquarters, Nizamuddin, and this group is headed by a man called Saad Kandahlawi. And the third, which is in Raywand, the TJ Center in Lahore. This is called the Raywand Group. But these three factions and these three splits also spills over into the United Kingdom and into America. So it says after the introduction and the preamble, on Tuesday, October the 9th, a Tablighi Jamaat led by Mufti Shaukat Ali from India visited the Islamic Center of Fremont, California, known as Irvington Mosque. I met with the leader or the Emir of the Indian TJ and other members in order to explain the dispute over leadership at Richmond Mosque. They are apparently not aware of the leadership dispute here. Their reaction was only to convey a message of fraternity and peace. So this three faction and three party split is clearly spilling over to America and spilling over to into Britain, as will be mentioned later on this article. And the messages that the leaders that are actually being sent out in with these movements is just one of plastering over the problem, not actually addressing it, and in fact, not even being cognizant of the problem. So this article, and a lot of it's taken from another website called twocircles.net. It basically talks about a clash that happened in the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan for Muslims is a month generally of fasting and no fighting, but this is something that the TJs themselves, their leadership at least, don't seem to have any respect for because they clashed within this month. And in this month, two main leaders, belonging to two of the sects, Maulana Sa'ad and Maulana Zuhair, were discussing the issue of leadership. This turned into a brawl, leading to violent clashes inside the mosque. The situation became so aggressive that police were called from 8 police stations to control it. As many as 11 were injured and taken to hospital for treatment. The situation became so sensitive that the police had to keep a close eye on the gathering the whole night. So, in a month of no fighting and in a month where people are supposed to be praying and fasting, the leaders of this movement, and I don't hesitate to call it a cult and a sect, but the leaders of this cult, they themselves were involved in the brawl. And I will not put up images here, but if anyone wants to look, there are images of literally dead bodies. People were killed in these brawls. In Britain, the article continues, there is one faction following the Raywand, which is the Pakistani Markaz, the Pakistani center, and the other one following the Indian center. He gives a little bit about the history of the Tabligh in the United Kingdom, but there's splits between those who are aligned with India and those who are aligned with Pakistan. The differences grew so much that several incidences of brawls occurred and members and elders assaulted each other in the London centre and in the Abbey Mills Mosque. Abbey Mills is also the newer mosque that I mentioned earlier. The news quoted Tablighi sources as saying that they were called about 13 times and 4 people were arrested on different occasions. So this is police being called more than a dozen times in order to resolve religious disputes in the United Kingdom. This is the state of a cult when it starts to disintegrate. Political violence spreading across all the centres, affecting the Western world. Stay tuned for more.